On this week's episode of The Insider, Rob will give us an update on the community calendar. Then, curators for the Carnegie Museum share about the latest exhibit that they recently opened. And I'll be back with a high school football recap. This is the Hanford Insider for Monday, September 16th.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Hanford Insider. I'm your host, Rob Bentley. Thanks for listening. In community news this week, the Hanford City Council will be meeting again on Tuesday, September 17th. Some of the items on the agenda include some discussions about the option for the downtown improvement plan moving forward, and an introduction of an ordinance that would severely restrict sitting, lying down, and sleeping on public and private properties, and the addition of provisions to address camping on private property and prohibiting trespassing on business premises. A full agenda is posted on the city website. It's over 1,000 pages, but if you scroll down to page 962, you can read about the downtown plan and the restrictions that will be placed on the homeless in the future. This is a reminder that if you're going to be headed east on Highway 198 this week, there will be nighttime road closures on Wednesday and Thursday from 8 p.m. until 6 p.m. each morning for high-speed rail construction. Traffic will be detoured to Grangeville Boulevard. Here's some things coming up on our community calendar. At the Thursday Night Marketplace this week, it's the Main Street Hanford Board Appreciation Night. The entertainment is the Moreno's Old School Funk Band. Kings County Behavioral Health is holding a Walk of Hope recognizing September as Suicide Prevention Month. The walk will be held at the Civic Park on Wednesday, September 18th from 10 until 11:30 a.m. Everyone is invited. The Tulare Kings Master Gardeners will be holding a free Master Gardener plant clinic at Hoffman's Nursery on Saturday, September 21st. Be sure to bring all of your plant questions. On September 21st, the big downtown Hanford Blues and Roots Festival will be held in the Civic Park from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., featuring Tommy Castro and the Painkillers, the Evan Thomas Blues Band, Square One, and Motel Drive. This annual Blues Festival is one of the only free festivals in the country. Don't miss it. On Sunday, September 22nd, the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church in Hanford will be holding a multicultural parish festival from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Enjoy a variety of typical foods, entertainment for the whole family, live music, and design. The Civic Park stage lights up again on Wednesday, September 25th for Main Street Hanford and KJUG Radio's free country concert at 7 p.m. featuring Dylan Marlowe, Frankie Justin, and Kelsey Hart. As part of the Asian Experiences exhibit at the Carnegie Museum, there will be a tribute to the China Alley Moon Festival on Saturday, September 28th from noon until 5 p.m. in the parking lot next to the museum. Admission is free. There'll be performances by the Cal Poly Lion Dancers and the Fresno Gumyo Taiko. For more information, visit the museum website at carnegiemuseumofkingscounty.org. If you have an event coming up and you'd like some help getting the word out, let's work together. Send your information to hanfordinsider@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get a complete calendar of events. As most of you know by now, I'm on the board of the Carnegie Museum of Kings County. It's truly been an honor to present our recent exhibitions. The second installment of Kings County's Asian Experiences opened on Friday and will run through December 15th at the historic Carnegie Library building in downtown Hanford. This portion of the exhibition focuses on the experiences and contributions of the area's Asian communities following World War II. Specific displays highlight the religious practices, cultural traditions, festivals, and businesses that have been at the heart of these groups. It's my honor now to sit down with the curators of the exhibit. Joining me are Steve Bannister, Arianne Wing, Gail Holloman, Kelley McCoy, Jennifer Laeno, and Nancy Yang. Gail, I know you're really excited about Part 2. Part 1 was such a huge success. What can visitors look forward to in this portion of the exhibit?
Of all the items, probably, again, the most particular significant portion for me would have been the VFW, and since they established the first Nisei post in Hanford with just the veterans, that's a big gem for me. And also the Japanese festivals to help share all the festivals that the Japanese and the Buddhist Church does as part of their tradition. And I'm very honored that we were able to get the Fresno Bonsai Society to participate in this particular exhibit. Unfortunately, we could not get a bonsai tree, due to the delicate nature of the trees, and we didn't want to harm the asset. So they were able to donate or gift a few items for us to display in the display this year.
So what were they able to donate then?
They loaned us a screen with a description, very peaceful, like a meditative environment. They arranged for the rocks in a very serene environment. And there's a description there. And these were all because of the efforts of William Clark, who is a native Hanford, who has since passed. He's the one that started the Clark Center south of town. And also they were able to donate, or actually loaned us, a concrete bowl that was made in one of the concentration camps, which is in the evacuation display. And that's a very rare item.
So, Steve, I know a lot of people are saddened by the fire at the Taoist Temple back a few years ago, and I know you have a very moving display in the museum media room.
Well, the temple room in part 2 is somewhat serene and, to put it frankly, burnt. We worked with a set designer to create the temple after the fire. We have some before and after photos of a couple of the items that were unburned, and then the burn stage, and then after conservation. And it's remarkable how well they looked after the conservation efforts take place. There's a couple of videos that I'm really proud of, funded by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and one of them is an award that we got, a Trustees Emeritus Award for Historic Site Stewardship, and then the other is a video called Rising, featuring Arianne.
Arianne, can you share with us some of the other items in the exhibition and maybe a few things that really inspired you?
Well, that's a big question, because the whole exhibit, I'm really proud of pulling this one off. What we did is we took a lot of part 1, the past, and brought it into the present. One of the things that was really brought a smile to my face was recreating a dining room from the Imperial Dynasty restaurant. And I was also very proud that I could remember how to set the table, because that was very, very important to my Uncle Richard, that it was set just properly. And that was fun. And it's been fun watching that one develop. It was start out with, we'll just have a table. And then it just sort of grew and grew and grew. Like I said, I walk by that and it brings back so many memories for me, and it makes me think of all the people that used to come in there, and they became our friends and family. And that was probably my favorite display to do.
The China Alley Preservation Society has so many projects on the board. How can the community continue to support the restoration efforts in China Alley?
You can go to our website, chinaalley.com, and there is a great big donate button on there. And we are happy to receive any donation, no matter how little or what's great big. We are very appreciative. We have an event coming up on September 28th. The Carnegie Museum and the China Alley Preservation Society are putting together a tribute to the Moon Festival. And that will be a fun event to see again. It's been since the arson and COVID, we haven't had this event, so I'm looking forward to it.
Kelley, the Filipino addition to the exhibition is pretty special too. Can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration for this portion?
Well, unbeknownst to me, there are actually Filipinos, 4,800 Filipinos in Kings County, which makes them far and away the largest Asian group in the county. I had no idea that that was the case. What I did know, though, is that they haven't had as long of a presence in the county, and that even though there are several families and individuals that have made contributions, we don't really know much about the community itself, unlike, for example, the very iconic and storied local Chinese and Japanese communities. And so for me personally, I thought, what a fantastic opportunity to give residents of Kings County an opportunity to learn more about the Filipinos. Because so little is known about this community, it's important to fold their story into historical context. So one of the displays that I'm particularly proud of actually is something that we owe tremendous thanks to the Filipino American National Historical Society in Stockton for, in that one of the bays is taken up with 4 gorgeous 6-foot-tall banners that talk about the 4 waves of Filipino immigration to the United States and includes California and the contributions that the Filipino people have made here, which are pretty remarkable.
How about you, Kristen? What's been your inspiration for the exhibits that you've been able to put together highlighting the Filipino community? And what should people be looking for when they come to the Carnegie Museum?
The reason I did this is for my Uncle David. When I was raised in Laeno during the summers, he made sure that we knew what our family heritage was and is, and we stand strong and carry on the tradition. Being little, I didn't understand that. I think with a lot of people, especially with the Asian culture, we don't get it, we don't care. But as we get older, like myself, I figured out, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. So when I was brought in for this part 2, I was doing I feel like I'm doing a service for the Filipino community from back in the day. And for the present, I want my kids and my grandkids to understand what our Filipino heritage is. The most significant item that I brought in, to me, is close to my heart. It's the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor that was awarded to the Filipinos for World War II. And that was enacted in 2016. And my great-uncle's paperwork and his medal are being displayed in one of the bays right now. Come to find out, he did work in Kings County from 51 to 53. Thanks to Sherman over at the Hanford Library, he was able to help me track that down. So I want the Filipino community as a whole to understand and realize what the significance is of that, because the awards are still being given out to this day. And I don't want for our Filipinos from World War II to be forgotten. I want them to flourish and us have that history that we can cherish here on out.
Let's move on to the Hmong exhibit now. Nancy, can you share with us what visitors will see in your display?
Yeah, of course. I actually worked with this with Paula Hyung, and she also helped me out with it. So our exhibit is basically a lot of clothing and hats and the traditional garb that we wear. Hmong people are a little bit nomadic people. Our backgrounds are from all the way up to lower China, and you can find them in also Laos and Thailand. So a lot of hill people. And each one of them, each little tribe, each little area has their different forms of dress. So like when you get married to another person in another tribe, you take on their traditional garb. So the one that's actually displayed is actually my parents. And my mom had a totally different kind of dress. But you can see some of the different dressings that we have there that's depicted on there. So it's kind of crazy because when we think of Hmong people, we think of them almost like a solitary group, like everyone's Hmong. But when you marry into another tribe, there is I can't even tell you. I have probably an entire closet filled of clothes that aren't traditionally my people. So that's one spot that we have there. We also have, again, this is more Paula's thing. Her parents actually were farmers in the Merced area. And so they didn't use tractors and things like that. So there's a hoe, there's a sickle there. There's a traditional basket that's woven from bamboo and things like that. She also her dad was an amazing person. Her dad actually made these wind instruments. It's called a thing. And he used to play it and sell them to people. And I think in Fresno, there actually is a small community that still does it. But there's barely, I could probably count on the number on my hands how many people can still play that instrument and play it well. And then on my part to it is my picture of my dad. So my dad actually fought in the Vietnam War for the American side. So before the Vietnam War was actually the Vietnam War, the CIA actually contacted a lot of the Hmong people that were in that area in order to fight with them against the Viet Cong.
So the way they got the Hmong people to join them is literally they told them, hey, you guys love being free out here, these farming agrarian people. And the Viet Cong, they're going to come and take that from you guys. So if you guys fight with us, we'll make sure that you guys continue to be able to do what you guys want to do. And my dad at the time was actually just a teenager. And my grandpa, my dad had 2 younger brothers, and he didn't want to leave them. And so my dad actually volunteered for my grandpa, and he actually went and did it. And my dad doesn't talk about it a lot, but I do know that he has a few shrapnel wounds across his chest, and he had like a bullet that was lodged in his nose. And I don't remember why we know that information, but those were some of his wounds that he got during that Vietnam War. Well, after the Vietnam War, of course, things changed in that area. So my parents actually moved over to one of those camps, one of those refugee camps. And because my dad had fought in the war, he was one of the first people that were able to get sponsored to come over to America. And so my dad landed in Santa Ana, California, and we were with this amazing Christian woman. And at the time, my parents were still very traditional and shamanistic, which some Hmong people still are. But my mom, who was only in her 20s, she was considered like barren, basically, because she couldn't have kids. And then but when she came over and she became Christian, my mom was able to get pregnant. And after that, my mom had 8 kids. I'm number 7. They really did like that Orange County area, but it just wasn't for them. Like Laos and Thailand, they were in literally, planting things and raising animals, and they couldn't do that in that city. So my dad and his brothers, once they were able to actually all get sponsored over, they actually drove up to the Central Valley and they found some areas and they were like, this is more like what we remember from our area. And so they decided to settle in Hanford. And so we actually all my uncles had lived around in Hanford for a very long time. My parents still live in Hanford. And we have an amazing Fresno community of Hmong people up there too. I mean, you guys probably hear about it all the time with the Hmong New Year that's happening every year. And that is one of the best things that I love about this area and why I still continue to stay in this area. I actually don't live in Hanford anymore. I live in Selma, but it's a very close part to not be too far from Hanford, where I was originally from, but also still be part of my community in Fresno.
So in your opinion, then, why is it so important to share cultures?
I think it's really important because I feel like even within the history of like Asian Americans, Hmong people are just like, we're very, very like at the end or like very like contemporary. But everyone's story is important. I mean, not even just ours. I mean, if you go back 200 years or whatever, it's still something that I think we need to know. The good and the bad, all those things. And we were talking about it the other day with one of the guests. She was wearing a Hmong jacket. And she was talking about how she had bought this in the 80s and how amazing it was and how well done it was. And I was remarking to her that your jacket is amazing because even now, the stuff that we are getting, the bandao, the needlework, is not even as good as it used to be. And I don't even think that we are going to have artisans that can reproduce that anymore after this generation. And I think those things are important. Everyone needs to know that where you come from, and sometimes it's not just about what you're wearing, but like the skill that goes behind it. I think those things are really important to know.
So, Gail, as I was looking around the museum the other day, I noticed that there's an awesome display on the Asian martial arts.
Yes, there is. We decided to do a martial arts exhibit. There's so many different versions of martial arts that we had to only pick a few. And one was the jiu-jitsu, because there are several schools in Kings County. We do not have a kendo school, but there are kendo practitioners here in the county. So there's that. There's some Kelley sticks. There's some Filipino martial arts items. We also have the origin of how martial art tools actually started from farming tools. And we do have an interesting photo in there of one of the rare photos of Bruce Lee with a group. And there is a gentleman sitting next to him, which actually is from Hanford, that trained with Bruce Lee in the Filipino martial arts. So the Kelley sticks and the knuckles behind there do correlate with that exhibit. So another thing that's really interesting is the VFW Nice Liberty Post that is put together. We were only able to find 9 photos of the original charter members in their hats. We also have one of the first photos. It may not be the original photo, but there's a first post photo which shows all the members. We also have their first reunion in 1952, which has names of participants from all up and down the state. Their names are there. There's also the Nice Memorial that they helped to sponsor up in Roding Park, and they always have the event up there every Memorial Day. So it's about how the club started, all the things that they were involved in, and right now they just celebrated their 75th anniversary.
Arianne, you were sharing with me earlier about all the Chinese American mom-and-pop grocery stores in the area. What did you discover?
Yes, it was once I started counting up how many mom-and-pop Chinese American grocery stores there were. I think there were like 10 of them. And from the 1950s to the 90s, that's kind of, when you think about the population of Hanford or this and Lemoore, I mean, how many could they sustain? But they weren't Asian grocery stores. They might have had a shelf or an aisle or a section, but they serviced the community. They were mom and pop that started with Grandpa, and I could take one of them. Actually started in China Alley in the 1880s and, lasted. It's still around, only, of course, different owners. And that was just a nice phenomenon to me to find and discover and share.
The Kings County's Asian Experiences exhibition is open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. You can also arrange for private tours through our website at carnegiemuseumofkingscounty.org. As Arianne mentioned, we'll be holding a special tribute to the China Alley Moon Festival in the museum parking lot on Saturday, September 28th from noon until 5. Admission is free. The lion dancers from Cal Poly will be performing, as well as the Fresno Gumyo Taiko. There'll be food booths and other popular Moon Festival vendors such as Kenneth Rank with his bonsai trees, Raymond Thomas will be demonstrating origami, and the Hanford High Salad Bowl Club will have special artwork tattoos for the kids. There will also be a booth by the China Alley Preservation Society for you to contribute to the restoration efforts that Arianne mentioned. It's going to be a great day for sure. I'd like to thank all of you for your tireless efforts in presenting this exhibition for the community and for coming on the show after a long week to share the good news of the opening.
Well, thank you, Rob.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Thank you, Rob, for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much for having us. I really hope everyone does come out, not just to see just the Hmong area, but like everyone else's and their impact on Kings County.
Rob, thank you for taking care of this. I just hope everyone learns to budget time because this exhibit is so much larger than the other one. It will be at least 2 hours, and it may be multiple visits.
Thanks, Rob. We're looking forward to seeing everyone at the Tribute to the Moon Festival.
And now it's time for Hanford Insider Sports with Eric Bentley.
Week 4 saw a trio of lopsided scores. We'll start with the Bullpups, who stayed perfect on the season with a 62-17 romp of El Diamante. After the Miners took a 3-0 lead, the Bullpups responded with 42 unanswered first-half points to put the game away before halftime. And this week for the Bullpups, it was the Albert Richardson show as he rushed for 2 touchdowns, had a pick 6, and a punt return touchdown. Hanford High will try to keep their undefeated streak alive as they finally get a chance to play at Neighbor Bowl this season, hosting Redwood this week. Sierra Pacific was unable to come away with a victory last week, following to Kalinga 35-0. The Golden Bears will look to bounce back this week against Carruthers. And Hanford West is still searching for their first win of the season after being shut out by Kerman. The Huskies will take to the road this week to face Menachie. As always, we'd like to cover as many local sports as we can, so if you have a score report or a story idea, make sure to email hanfordinsider@gmail.com. I'm Eric Bentley, and this has been your Hanford Insider Sports Report.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's show. If you enjoy this podcast and you'd like to show your support, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Hanford Insider to make a donation. I'd like to give a special shout out to Dean and Barbara Osterling for being such great supporters of the show. If you'd like to join the Hanford Insider email list, stop by my website at hanfordinsider.com to sign up for updates. You'll also get an exclusive copy of my newsletter in your inbox each week. You can send me feedback by voicemail through the website by clicking on the microphone icon. I'd love to hear from you. Your comments may even be shared on the show. I also need your help getting the word out about the show by liking and sharing on social media or telling a friend. For more information about the show, you can find this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, and YouTube at Hanford Insider. If you have a show idea, be sure to email me at hanfordinsider@gmail.com and I'll look into it. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.